Hello, and welcome back to yet another Geek Show, where you should stay the fuck home. This is your host, Alex Ecker.
This is your host, Dalton Lee.
Jake is no longer here. He is not staying the fuck home.
All right, it's just the two of us today. That's not necessarily unusual, but I think it is the first time since Jacob's been on the show.
Yeah, I believe so. So welcome to the most boring episode.
Sorry, it looked like Reaper wasn't recording. We're good. It was just scrolled down too far to see my track. I didn't see anything being drawn.
Oh, gotcha.
Sorry.
Segueing into, so how are you, Dalton?
Well, today's not the episode to talk about it really, but I did finally finish Final Fantasy VII after 20 plus years of playing it.
So I know I asked you.
Look forward to a spotlight on that.
Yeah, with a potential special guest, but I won't ruin it. I know I asked you off air and you had a funny answer. How does it feel to finally beat this game after 20 years?
Significant. Like, there's points in your life where people say, hey, what's it like when you turn 18, when you turn 21,
when you get your license,
college, when you get married? And I usually go, same.
It's the same shit, different day. Yeah,
but
I get it.
After my strange history of calling this my favorite game for 2 decades and yet not bringing myself to finish it, it feels like, as dumb as it is, it feels like I got over a real hurdle, which, not that the game's hard, especially when you're playing it on the Switch with like the built-in cheats and everything. Right. So it's not like it's a challenge in that it's a hard game, but a challenge in that, I don't know, there's this thing that for years and years I put it off, and now I did it. And as dumb as it is, it makes you feel like you can do things.
Well, hey, speaking of putting things off and then finally doing things, we just released our cover of Doom 2, The Demon's Dead. If you want to rephrase that, Dalton, go ahead.
That was a good seg until you couldn't figure out how to name the song. That's The Demon's Dead from Doom 2. I'm sure you understood that anyway. But yeah, we are super stoked to have that out there. We've been working on music together for almost as long as I've been playing Final Fantasy VII. And this is, the first time we're officially putting something out there. I mean, we've shared things like, let me throw this on a SoundCloud and let my friends and family hear it. But this is the first time it feels like an official release. And at the second, it's only on YouTube, but you'll be seeing it on actual music services soon. And we have another one coming very shortly after. Are we okay with naming that?
Yeah,
I think
I'm totally okay with that. We've actually played it in the Where Have We Been YouTube video, where I just did like a quick hey, this is what we've been doing. It's The Moon from DuckTales on the NES. Yeah, NES.
On the NES,
yeah. It's kind of it's one of those game covers that everyone kind of does when they do video game covers. So it's not like it's not like a big accomplishment, but we're pretty happy with what we did to it in terms of,
it's a obligatory, you gotta do it.
That's fair, yeah.
kind of thing. And soon here, sometime next month, we'll start releasing kind of behind the scenes footage / vlogs on a monthly basis.
Yeah.
And
as long as we're allowed to not stay home.
and we're gonna, well, yeah, now that you mention it, I guess after this first one that's already been filmed, we're not gonna find ourselves together a whole lot. We'll have to figure out a way to do compelling vlogging over the internet.
Yeah, maybe.
That said, I mention it because we'll probably use those as an opportunity to talk a little more in depth about our musical process.
Yeah.
And I mean, it'll regard everything Broccoli Bomber does. It'll include these podcasts and our Let's Plays, but probably the biggest one will be working on music.
Yeah.
Actually, the video, if
you've watched the video, that's a lot of our behind the scenes footage that I overlaid on top of the video.
Yeah, that was just kind of put together out of footage that was meant for the behind the scenes.
Oh, don't worry. There's still going to be a vlog video for it.
But Alex is stubborn here, and I said to him like a few days before we wanted to put it out, hey, we're not going to have time to get together and like actually shoot a video, you know, especially considering it's not like we know anything about shooting videos, and that's still true. But he came back the next day with, hey, I put something together anyway. Fuck you.
You got to have something. So I figured this will work.
So there you go. The moon has been recorded for a long time, and there was no footage of that process. So we'll see what you pull out of your butt there.
Oh God. Yeah, it'll be interesting what I figure out. I know I did some last minute changes. I'm gonna jump off of the video games and movies hype for a minute, and I want to talk about our drum kit real fast that we used in our song, well, in our cover song rather. The snare that I was using before I changed it last minute, it was awful, and I didn't realize how much of a difference, because like for drummers out there, I'm not really a drummer, I'm more of a guitarist, but I've always thought a depth to your snare, because the typical, what is it, 7.5 by 14 for a snare drum,
couldn't tell you,
and I changed ours to a 5 by 14, and I didn't realize that gave it enough high end to get out of the mix and actually be significant in the song again. And that was probably the happiest I had been working on music, because I'm just like, I need to get the snare fixed. For like an hour and a half, and I'm trying to figure out what I can do to fix it. And all I did was change it. And I'm like, oh, that was it. That was all I needed.
Yeah, well, and part of the delay in ever officially releasing music in our lives is just never being totally happy with the recordings. We're always going to learn something that can night and day improve everything we're working on. So there comes a point where, nah, man, we just got to release it. We got to release it and stop touching this damn song. And it is what it is. And if we get better at recording and later songs sound better, then whatever.
Yeah. So say in the near future when the moon comes out.
The way that our early episodes of this show are trash, and now they're just
Yeah.
It is what it is.
So yeah.
If you throw out your trash, you'll never make it to
Yeah, exactly. So if there's a significant change in production quality between The Demon's Dead and The Moon, that would be why, because we went from trash to but like a really weak
Oh, all right. So moving on to what the show's really about. What have you been up to this week?
Staying at home.
Good start.
Washing my hands.
Thank you for that.
Washing my hands a lot. I noticed that during this entire thing going on, that video game sales have, the sales of video games, not like stock market crash and blah, blah, blah. No, I'm talking like there's been a tons of sales on games. So I hopped on my Switch and I looked at the great deals section on the eShop, and there were a few games that were like between like a penny and like 19 cents, and I grabbed a few of them. One of them being a game called, I believe it was called Conduct Together. It's like a mobile game, but you can play with friends, kind of. It's like a mobile game port almost. But me and my wife, we were playing it, and it's really simple. You control trains. One Joy-Con controls stop and go, and the other one controls the rails. So like she would control the rails and I would control the trains. And the trains go to these little train stops, pick up passengers, and then they turn a color, and you have to match the color of the train to the roof of the other stops. So like, say you pick up a bunch of red passengers, you have to take them to the red roofed station, and then sweep back around, go to the blue terminal, grab the blue people, bring them to the others. You know what I'm trying to say. And it was surprisingly complicated, because you have to focus on where the train is going, where it has to go and make sure they don't collide, because if they do, they explode. And it's kind of funny. And plus there's other obstacles like cars, like roads being where the tracks are, and you have to watch out for those other elements and stuff. Not to mention other trains that you can't control, and you have to make sure that, for example, in one level, there were trains coming out of the same spot that you were, but if you had the rails turned to the spot where the stations were, you could like really make it a giant literal train wreck. Because you can't control the one train, and then you blow up, and you have to. It's a really big coordinated team effort. Like, I was surprised at how much concentration that you need for this game.
Speaking of concentration, I haven't heard a word you've said in the last 10 seconds because I'm so upset with myself for laughing at Trainwreck.
Anyways, if it's still on sale, I think it was like between a penny and 19 cents. Get it. It's fun. It's fine. You'll probably yell at your friend or significant other like, hey, do this. So if they can't handle that pressure, then don't get the game. Or play by yourself. I have a couple other games I grabbed too. I picked up The First Tree on my Switch for my wife to play it. I had it on my computer, but I always need my computer, and she's never really had a chance to come up here and use it to do whatever she needs. So I was like, you know what, it's $4. I'll pick it up. And that game, for those who don't know, it's a story about it's a story about a couple. But the man is telling a dream about where he had this giant dream, and it was a mother fox trying to find her 3 lost cubs. And it's a fantastic story. When I first played it, it put me into tears because there's more than that going on. And I finally got to share that experience with my wife. That was cool.
If you're into walking simulators, it's one of the good ones. We both played it last year and talked about it on this show.
Yeah. And once everything kind of blows over with all this stuff, I still aim to get that tattoo of a fox that I mentioned a year ago. Just never had the chance to get.
Once tattoo shops are open again.
Yeah, open and safe.
I've been planning a video game related tattoo for a while that I currently can't get because all the shops are down.
That, and you have a hard time with figuring out where your placement is, because we've talked about this tattoo design of yours for God, how long now? Like almost 3 years. Man,
yeah. So has your wife had anything to say about The First Tree? Does it seem to be resonating with her?
It resonated with her, but more on the angle of the fox and not the conversation between the couple. She was upset about, certain events unfolding, and that part resonated with her more. But after talking to her and, telling her about the time frame that I was in, with my mental state, she said that she could totally understand. And it gave her a little bit more of a perspective on how I felt, I think, in that time. So I will always recommend this game, even if you're not into walking simulators, but have had a rough go of it lately. This could be something that could maybe be cathartic for you, because I know it was for me. So yeah, I will always recommend this game. Moving on from that one, I bought Warlocks 2 Godslayers. All
right, the name's not off to a great start.
It's I've never played a Oblivion game, but it's how I feel an Oblivion game would be. All your armor has like number stats, and you have to equip it, and it's all about the DPS, damage per second, recovery per second items, and all that other stuff. It's an interesting game. It's kind of a satiric take on like serious RPGs. Like the character I'm playing, his name is Cormag. He is a goat man who rides a llama with a human face, and it's weird. It's funny. And like, for example, I've been playing this with my wife because, hey, we have nothing else but time. And she's playing this witch whose name, I can't remember what it is, but she has a Twitter handle called @ewitch.
You know what? I'm going to sidetrack you for a second before I forget.
Sure.
Because I feel like you mentioned Oblivion, and I feel like that's not the name you were looking for, because I'm not aware of a series or franchise called Oblivion unless I'm just an idiot interrupting for no reason.
What is it? I can't remember the name of it. We talked about it. I didn't
want to have to remember that this happened and then have to figure out what the franchise was and then edit it in later.
It was one of the games that Evoland mocked.
Diablo.
Thank you. Why did I say Oblivion? Thank you for making me look less of an idiot online. But yeah, it reminds me of Diablo.
Diablo's great, by the way.
But it's like this game is like a platformer style version of it. It's just, I don't know. It's really fun. It's weird. Only in regards of the art style. There's a lot of comedy, but it's a little buggy. Like
unpolished.
Yeah, it's really unpolished. Like, for example, I don't know what had happened when we were playing, but both of us jumped at the same time and glitched through the entire game and then levitated up an entire floor that we shouldn't have been on in a level.
Okay.
So it's stuff like that. So you can kind of really abuse it if you know how to. Mm-hmm. Which honestly I might look into, because one of the bosses that we're at right now is really fucking hard. Mm-hmm. We can't quite figure out how to beat him. But yeah, I don't know. It's fun. It's fine. Get it on sale. Mm-hmm. It's not something that's like super fantastic, but it's fun. You know, I could see myself beating this game with, mm-hmm. all the unpolishedness aside.
So, because it's cheap right now.
Yeah.
Kind of recommendation. All right.
Yeah, that kind of thing. And
all right. Well, I've got, if you're done with that, a very solid recommendation coming.
I have one other game. I'll just get them all out of the way right now since I'm already here.
Go ahead.
Probably the more streamlined game that I bought was Star Ocean, First Departure R. It was a PSP game.
Gotta love those JRPG titles.
Well, I don't know what they were going for with the R, because the game
is a mild version of how ridiculous they get. But
well, have you heard any of the other Star Ocean game names?
Yeah,
like Integrity and Faithlessness. I love the Star Ocean franchise. It's really good. It's about, like, I don't know, being a knight or a hero or something, and then you end up going into space, and there's always like a big twist, somewhere along the line. Mm-hmm. But this one was originally for the PSP, and I picked it up, and it's there. Like, the combat's there, the story elements are there, but there's something missing from what I've been playing of it. It's good. If you're a Star Ocean fan, I do recommend it. I don't have much to say about it yet, because like I literally just started it in between playing these co-op games with my wife. But I did post a screenshot from it on my Facebook, because there's a disease in this neighboring town from where you start in the game, and these people get sick and then they turn to stone. And the screenshot I shared to Facebook, it was the one guy going something along the lines of, "Don't worry, I'll handle this. I don't think this is a disease or anything that we need to worry about a major outbreak with." And I posted that with the response, "Topical."
Yeah, that's what we always think about them, huh?
Yeah, well, spoiler alert, that guy gets the disease and freaks out.
Spoiler alert, worry about it, please.
Exactly. Wash your hands and stay the fuck home. Listen to this podcast.
All right. I guess I already spoiled that it's a strong recommend, but we're going into Doom again. Doom Eternal, that just came out. I'm maybe 2/3 of the way through it, which I would say is enough to...
Before you get any further, I want to clarify, I don't hate Doom. I was just in a frustrated space our last weekly because I had just watched two awful movies.
Alex, I edited out the parts that made you look bad. You're bringing this up for no reason.
No, because I said it at the end of that episode, and before this one gets too deep in, I just want to remind everybody, I do intend to play on this game. Is it good?
Okay, so it's getting mostly really good reviews, but I'm seeing backlash from a handful of people about changes that are quite a bit more significant than I anticipated. Doom 2016, I've called it my favorite FPS, and to be honest, I wasn't super duper hyped on this game. I've barely paid attention to any of the marketing or teasers or whatever leading into it, because I kind of thought to myself, the last one already nailed the gameplay and I don't care about the story, so what could this possibly do to be worth my $60? I don't want to do more of the same thing. I can just play through that game again for a third time. but they made, first of all, massive changes to the gameplay itself that is getting some serious backlash. I've said that Doom 2016, the way it got back to its retro roots of being super fast-paced as compared to modern FPSs where you kind of hide behind cover and wait for your health to regenerate, pop back out, take a couple shots, hide again.
Yeah.
It got away from all that by saying, oh, we're not going to litter the levels with health. We're going to make it so that you get your health out of melee kills, or actually glory kills, which are like a melee attack you can only use once the enemy's staggered.
Mm-hmm. Didn't they have that in 2016 too?
That's what I'm talking about 16 right now to discuss the differences. Because that was the approach there. It kept you moving by saying, well, hey, if you're dying, the answer is to get deeper in there. You need to kill the demons with your hands to get health out of them.
Yeah.
And this game took a very different approach. There is actually health littered all over the arenas. There's shields littering the arenas. There's ammo littering the arenas. But it managed to make itself even more fast-paced by saying, first of all, we're giving you way more demons at one time.
Uh-huh.
And second of all, we are severely limiting the ammo that you can hold at one time. So both Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal have kind of their ways of making sure you're using all of your weapons, because you're going to quickly run out of ammo and need to move on to the next one.
Right.
And if you don't want to run out completely, you need to really pay attention and learn what weapons are going to work best on what demons, that kind of thing. But so to make this thing work where they don't give you a lot of ammo, you kind of have to juggle your health, shields, and ammo at the same time with different kinds of kills. So the stagger glory kill from 2016 that gives you health is still there.
Okay.
Additionally, you have this attack they call the flame belch. It's this weapon that's just like a tiny flamethrower that kind of recharges every certain amount of time. But when you catch an enemy on fire, they drop shields until you kill them.
Okay.
And then when it comes to ammo, you have a chainsaw on you at all times. That's a classic Doom weapon. But here it doesn't function like the normal weapons. Instead, you get a gauge up to 3, whatever you want to call the unit of measure, bars, I guess. The first bar constantly regenerates. So if you're out of ammo, you have to wait for the first bar of the chainsaw to refill, to replenish. And then you can attack any of the weaker demons, one-hit kill with a chainsaw, and they drop ammo.
Okay.
That fills up basically all of your guns. So you're just in this constant juggle of needing to pay attention to ammo, health, shields at all times because, hey, I just ran out of ammo completely. I better chainsaw this guy to death. I'm running out of health. I better glory kill this guy. I'm running out of shield. I need to flame this guy. But you need to think so strategically and so fast to prioritize this or that over the other, while at the same time, like, there's more demons coming at you. They're coming at you faster. There's a larger variety of them to learn. There's more figuring out what gun works for what monster the best. And the guns, even, like, this carries over from 2016. they both get 2 different mods to choose from. So if you choose to use like the shotgun, you have to choose a mod that turns on like full auto, or you choose a mod that makes it shoot these sticky bombs. They're both kind of an alternate fire, and you have to press a key to switch between which one. You might run into like the cacodemons, the big floating balls with faces, and you have to learn that, hey, that sticky bomb from the particular shotgun mod, that one will stagger them in one shot if you get it into their mouth. So you could be getting swarmed by 30 other demons.
Oh, jeez.
Realize you're running out of health, realize you're running out of ammo, and then still have to go, oh man, that cacodemon's hard to kill if I don't immediately switch to the shotgun, switch to the right mod, and shoot a grenade in its mouth, and then stagger it to get that health I was just running out of. And oh, I just ran out of ammo killing it that way, so let me chainsaw this demon over here. And it's just so much to juggle so fast. You can't stop moving despite them now littering the resources throughout the arena too, like Doom 2016 didn't do. And the point is, I personally appreciate how much it's asking for out of me. Like, I feel real good about getting down each of these weapons and figuring out when to use what and balancing everything.
Yeah.
Other people are mad that the game's not letting you just play it the way you want.
Okay.
Because say you don't really care for that chainsaw mechanic. You don't want to do the whole wait for the chainsaw to replenish itself, get a one-hit kill on a smaller demon. They just don't care for that mechanic. Well, you still need to use it, because otherwise you're going to be out of ammo every 60 seconds or so.
Right. Okay, I can see that argument, because there's already a lot going on, it sounds like. And that's an understatement, I think. And to make you nearly have to perfect everything, including the stuff that you absolutely have to do to progress through the game, kind of seems like it can be unfair, but we're also talking about Doom.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not playing on the easiest difficulty like I am, then this might be the Dark Souls of FPSs.
Oh, wow.
I know there's the Dark Souls of everything, but I could not imagine moving to the higher difficulties here.
Yeah.
I will say at maybe 2/3 of the way through the game, I've only died completely maybe twice, but I feel like I'm constantly on the brink. I feel like I've just barely made it over and over again. I've really only made it because of a game mechanic where you can find what they call an extra life in the level, and it basically means that, like, oh, you can die one time and be saved immediately.
Oh, jeez.
You know, it's exactly what a 1-up sounds like.
Yeah.
So there's been several times I've died, used the 1-up, and then been okay, but without that would have been screwed.
So none of your, like, ammo or inventory kind of carry over to the next level?
Yeah, that brings me to another interesting change to it.
Okay.
You don't actually immediately go from level to level. This game, in a really interesting big change for Doom, has kind of a hub. You have like a castle / spaceship / fortress kind of thing out in space that you are looking down on the Earth from. In this game, most of the Earth has been invaded, so the stages are kind of different places on Earth. And you go up to your little hub world in between stages.
Yeah.
And kind of mess around with upgrades there and unlock little areas of your spaceship and look at all the collectibles you've acquired.
Okay.
And that kind of thing.
Do you get like a loadout? For example, like, I want these 3 guns when I start the game or start that level, or...
Well, so you unlock this gun or that gun at different points in the story. When a level starts, I haven't noticed if you immediately have all your ammo, but it doesn't really matter because it takes one attack with the chainsaw to replenish all of your ammo. So, like, yeah, you are running out constantly. You're also refilling it constantly.
Right.
you have to pick between different like kind of perks, which again I believe that carried over from 16. You have to like upgrade your health, shield, and ammo quantity. Choose between like there's several different systems of upgrading stuff. I kind of don't like it because for me it's kind of information overload when I start up a video game and it's like, oh, here's 4 different currencies that you acquire in different ways that all apply to different kinds of upgrades.
Oh, jeez.
And it's to me it's just too much thinking. It's let me kill the stuff, man. I don't want to.
Right. Yeah. And Doom is the franchise to just let you kill the stuff.
Yeah. But there's even more gameplay changes because they've made platforming a big part of this game.
Really?
Which almost never works for a first-person shooter. I really hate it, but it's a blast in this game. It's a thing a lot of other people are mad about, though. I complained that Doom 3 kind of changed up the formula too much and that I thought like Doom 2016 was like the perfect going back and recreating those original games with modern taste in mind. But this went and made platforming a big part of it to the extent that even like the castle levels of the old Mario games with the kind of spinning fire things, you know what I'm talking about? You'd have to dodge around these like swirling sticks of fire. Like those are just randomly in these levels, and you have to like parkour. You have to like jump through a series of those and attach yourself to a wall and climb up the wall. And the movement, like it feels good because that stuff kind of applies during battle. It adds to the speed and urgency of the whole thing because like you get this crazy double jump and you also get this dash that can go in any direction. So like you can jump over gaps that look utterly ridiculous because you jump and then you double jump and then you dash forward then you dash forward.
Yeah.
And then you attach to a ledge or a wall you barely made it to. But that stuff comes in handy during combat too and adds to the sense of speed. It lets the game have a bit more verticality to the arenas. And I see why other people don't like it. And if I was reading that on paper, I wouldn't think I would, but I feel like a lot of it suits Doom very well. And outside of the arenas where it's just, hey, I finished an arena, let me platform to the next area. It's a nice break too, because your brain is doing so much during the fights that I think of the platforming in between as controlling the pacing, as letting my brain slow down and work at its own speed for a minute and relax until I get to the next arena.
Mm-hmm. That's important.
Outside, yeah,
that's absolutely important.
Yeah, it makes it feel better paced than Doom 2016, and I didn't think I would like it, but I appreciate the hell out of it. Story. I made the comment that Doom 2016 respected the originals by like having a story that's there if you want to pay attention to it, but lets you disregard it completely. This game really jumped in on Doom actually having a story.
That's what I was hearing.
It dives really far into like building lore and mythology in this world. It officially makes the Doomslayer and Doom Guy the same person and says, yes, all of these games are canon together. Which, you know, people were arguing about before. It is a little silly that the game in kind of a flashback refers to you as Doom Guy, because it's like, wait. Unless the Doom games exist in this world, what the hell did that name mean?
Right. Oh, that's funny.
But it goes as far as to like, there's more proper cutscenes. You see Doom Guy in third person. You can see his face through his visor. He occasionally talks. It's wild. They turned him into a real person.
Right.
While at the same time making him feel more like this mythological figure once you understand more of the lore behind him and you understand how the demons view him today. And just like constantly hear, you hear these recorded messages of like demons telling other demons about like, hey guys, like the Slayer is here. Like, watch out.
Yeah.
And it's just,
it's the bats.
I love all
Get out of here.
I love all these changes. They were all risky, but it works.
Yeah.
The levels are more varied in appearance, so that helps the pacing too. The different chapters of the campaign feel more like different areas. The visuals are a lot more detailed, although a bit more cartoony.
Okay.
Which I think they needed to, because Doom 3 was where they tried to not be cartoony and it doesn't work and I don't like it. And this one just kind of appreciated that Doom's silly and dumb and says, maybe we can push the limits a little further if we accept that this is cartoony and silly and dumb, and kind of draw it that way. And it's optimized like a dream. I'm running it at 1440p, 90 hertz, no problem. 90 frames, I should say. It runs great. So everything that was great about 16 carries over, but they made risky moves to change things that I wouldn't have thought on paper would work, but I appreciate all of them. And this is now, having not quite beaten the game yet, this is now my favorite FPS for sure.
Nice. Cool. Yeah. And you just said you had it on PC, so I'm going to steal it from you probably sometime this or next week. I don't know yet. Depends on how long it takes for me and my wife to get through these games that we've got going together. You said you watched a movie to me off air as well.
This will be of interest to you.
Oh.
You probably haven't heard of this before, but you know the real story it's based on. This movie I watched is called The Lords of Chaos. And this is basically a biopic, whichever one of those pronunciations is right.
One of those photos I don't want to see.
On true Norwegian black metal band Mayhem.
Oh, shit.
Which, for people who aren't familiar, I'm not going to get into and spoil story beats, but basically this is a band who still exists but originated in the early 90s, who all the concern and scare from parents and politicians and schools over metal bands and their influence on the people and how evil they were and so on and so forth.
This was that band.
Mayhem was like the actual band that was that.
Yeah. Oh, fuck.
They're a band that, on one hand, like, they created black metal, and that's cool. I like the sound of black metal. Most of the people involved in that scene and making that music are trash humans, and I don't think this movie goes too far into being sympathetic to them, but it does give me a bit more context into the things some of the members of this band have done. I think it lets you do what you want in terms of judging them. It doesn't go out of their way to say, like, it doesn't try to make them sympathetic. It also doesn't shy away from, like, the extent of the evil things they have done. But you kind of see how it amplified. These are all shitty people to begin with, but you see how it kind of turned into a contest.
Yeah.
Where, one member of the band, who's kind of the leader of it all, kind of feels threatened by another new guy in the scene just being more of a badass and just being more evil than he is. And it just ramps up and goes crazy. And, like, the movie's shocking by the half-hour mark, and it's 2 hours long.
Oh, God.
Like, my wife, who doesn't know the history of this band, was watching it with me and, like, was shocked and horrified like a half hour through. And I'm like, we are barely into this movie.
And probably barely into how, yeah.
This band's history is just barely getting started at this point. Euronymous, that name would mean something to you, Alex, without going into details about what he actually did or has done, by Macaulay Culkin's younger brother, who I didn't know was an actor.
What?
Named, I think his name is Rory Culkin. I'm going to double check that real quick before I commit to that.
I'm sorry, but wow, that took me for a second.
Yeah, that's correct. Rory Culkin. And it was funny because it started and we're looking at him and my wife is like, is that Macaulay Culkin? And I was like, Macaulay Culkin's like 10, 20 years too old to be this character. And then the credits rolled and it said Rory Culkin. And I'm like, oh shit.
Oh man. That's
But he was great.
Yeah.
He must not be like too big of a deal if I've never been aware that he existed before, but he was great in this movie. I'm interested to
I'm only laughing because like I'm picturing scenes from Home Alone times 10. Like that's the only reason I'm laughing so hard.
Yeah, but this movie, even if it weren't based on a true story, still kind of works as like a thriller film.
Yeah.
A lot of the times, a biopic. I need to commit to one. I'm going with biopic. A lot of the time,
Biopic
these are intended. These are intended to kind of take usually a musician, not always, but usually a musician, and to say like, here's examples of why they're incredible and important, and maybe we'll squeeze a bit of their controversy in there, and we'll squeeze some of their struggles in there so you're more impressed by the great things they did. But this is a strange one where like
this movie is only going off of their controversy. It has to be.
Where, yeah, it realizes that that's the big thing they're known for. Like, yeah, sure, they are credited with creating, quote, true Norwegian black metal, but there aren't a lot of people that listen to black metal. Not nearly as many as there are people that know what it is and know who Mayhem is, not for their musical contribution,
right,
but for their crazy as shit real life story.
Yep.
And so, yeah, every single thing I knew about them shows up here. And I did have an awkward moment where, knowing that Mayhem and a lot of the other people around them in the scene are terrible people, some of their music and other bands did get licensed into the movie. You hear some of their real music, and I realized I kind of liked it.
That actually brings up a whole topic of its own.
which we've jumped into a couple times before, and I'm like, oh, that's not that's gonna be a problem. Oh, that's not a recommendation for the band, but I do recommend the hell out of this movie because it's just it's out there, man, and it was well done. They apparently, different people were trying to get a movie about this band made for like at least a decade before it finally happened, and them not being an incredibly well-known band, like it's not like making a Freddie Mercury or Elton John biopic. You might think there's a big chance of, not a lot of money's going to get put into this, so you're not going to get a great director, you're not going to get a great writer, you're not going to get great performances, but everything about it works. It came out great and it didn't have to, and it's pretty crazy to watch, and crazier knowing that it's pretty damn accurate to what really happened.
Here's my biggest takeaway, or well, not takeaway, but concern. When you mentioned like the movie Bohemian Rhapsody, they did sort of put a glamour and a polish of like glorifying certain aspects. I'm really hoping they didn't do that with this movie that you're talking about.
So I would say that it didn't make any of these people look okay or forgivable. It did get me a little further into where their minds were, and to kind of understand how, like, if you started with people that were already shitty and cruel to begin with, it did make me kind of understand how these people could escalate each other and make things worse and worse and get to the point where it did.
Yeah.
But I don't think it at any point I don't think it makes apologies for anyone, though.
Okay. That's fair. Now, I haven't even seen the movie, but if you're going to watch it, go into it treating it like Game of Thrones, but worse.
Oh, I should also mention massive trigger warnings for like anything.
Literally anything.
Anything. It's I think a list might even delve right into spoilers if you're triggered by anything.
3 words, it's completely fucked.
Yeah.
So seriously, go into this movie if you watch it with no holds bar. Like, don't, because you will probably not be okay.
Yeah. You, as someone who hasn't seen this movie but knows who Mayhem is, yeah, you can't make this movie and make it.
Yeah, you couldn't make it probably
disturbing.
any other way then. Yeah, and with that extra layer of true story makes it worse. So
that said, it sent me on a couple hours at my computer trying to sit down and find some black metal bands that I might like that are also decent people. And it turns out that at least for like the ones that are significant in this era and are like influential and important today, really hard to find any of them that aren't total tools that no one should be associating themselves with. So yeah, I guess I'll continue not really listening to black metal, but kind of sort of wishing I could. I don't know, maybe it's easier to find modern ones that aren't
fair
total tools, but we'll see about that. And yeah, that's all I've got for this episode.
Yeah. I don't know if I should go educate myself or remain ignorant to enjoy music I've listened to for a while. Oh, thanks for that, bud. And you know, I've got all the time in the world right now. So thanks.
Yeah. All right. So watch out, guys, for us to continue our MCU spotlights. So next up comes Iron Man 2 shortly after the episode you're hearing now.
Yeah.
And check out Limit Break if you haven't.
Yeah. Stay indoors, wash your hands, listen to Limit Break. It's just the one song for now, but subscribe to Broccoli Bomber.
Wash your hands again. Your mouse might be dirty.
Yeah. Subscribe to Broccoli Bomber Studios, so that way you can see when the second track comes out, which is The Moon from DuckTales.
Yeah.
Wash your hands, stay indoors. Goodbye.